What's going on, Evenant? Big Jer, back with you again. Today, we're going to be talking about the importance of freezing and flattening, basically printing to audio, and doing your final edits. More often than not, students will come to me and be like, hey, why does my song not sound ready? And then I look at it and they have a ton of MIDI still. And I guess a good rule, I'm not saying that you can't have a finished song with MIDI still in your project. That's ridiculous. Of course you can. But I guess what I'm trying to say is more often than not, if all of your tracks are still MIDI, then I don't think you've taken your sounds to the level that they could go to. So you're kind of doing yourself a disservice. So first off, what is freezing and flattening? Well, you could use freezing and flattening for a couple of different things. First of all, you could freeze and flatten any track, whether it's an audio track or a MIDI track. So let's say I've got some MIDI tracks here, for example, and I've got this drone. I'm going to just turn the automation back on. Perfect. And, I want to start freezing and flattening, printing to audio, and then I want to start editing that audio. Okay. So before I even start mixing, I want to start freezing and flattening. Now I could find that by right clicking on the track and I can go down here to freeze. Now it takes a second, but once it freezes the track, it stops thinking about massive, because every time you run the playhead over a MIDI note, it has to re-synthesize the sound. But when you freeze it, it takes a snapshot of that and then it just plays it like it's audio. But you can go back. Okay? So in that situation, let's say you had a project with a lot of serums going and it was starting to mess up your CPU over here. Well, you can go ahead and freeze a couple of those tracks and that will give you some CPU back. But in this case, we want to use it to kind of bounce in place. So before I do this, I like to give myself a backdoor out, just in case I freeze it, flatten it, and then for whatever reason I don't like it or I have to go back into my synth. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to save as. Before I print anything, before I freeze and flatten anything, I'm going to save as, and then I'm going to go up here and just call this we can call this freeze. Cool. So now I know that at this point we're going to start freezing, okay? And I can always go back to that other one. Let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go ahead and commit to it, flatten, boom. And as you can see, it has just changed that into audio and there's no more MIDI instrument on this track. Let's say for whatever reason, I'm like, oh shoot, I wish I still had that MIDI. I want to change a note or something like that. Well, check this out. I can go into current project here and it's got all the versions that I've saved of this. Okay, so we saved it. The last one was right here, remember? Then we just saved it to this. So what I could do is I could actually open this up, okay? And this is all the tracks that were in that project. And I could actually pull in anything into this project. This is a really cool thing to do. So boom. And then guess what? There's your MIDI right back to where it was. Okay, there's your massive and everything's golden, So as long as you leave yourself a back door, there's no problem committing. So many people don't like to commit because they say to themselves, oh, what if I want to change it later? Well, that's fine. As long as you leave yourself a back door, you can change it later. But by never committing to anything, you never commit. And by committing to stuff, even if you do make mistakes and have to go back and fix it, you're getting better at making decisions and committing and being confident in your decisions. Cool. So now that we kind of understand the importance of it, let's get into it. So after we freeze and flatten, we can start doing the final edits. And your tool, your weapon of choice is going to be your fades. Okay? So Alt Command F opens up your fades, and then you have these guys on the side. Let me say a quick thing here. If I hit Command Com, I'll be going to my preferences. And by default, over here in Warp Launch Record window here, tab, by default, Create Fades on Clip Edges is turned on, okay? I'd recommend turning that off. In fact, if you had it on, that means every clip that you bring in has a predetermined in and out point. Now, for a drone, that wouldn't be that big of a deal, but if we were doing some programming up here with the booms and you were doing one-shot programming, you would absolutely be losing some of your transient in the front. And that's not cool with me. But anyway, so we are going to focus here on having things end when we want them to. Okay? So for example, right here on the last hit, okay, I could actually say, all right, well, it hits here. And we probably want to give it 2 bars to fade out. So I could close that down and then pull my fade in. And we just tighten it up a little bit. So now right here, I wanted this impact to be more impactful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this out now. And this is the kind of stuff that would just be too much of a headache to do in MIDI. So we print to audio and we have a lot more flexibility. So we're going to go ahead and use Command E to make a cut right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just twist this guy right out. So it's pretty much all the way out, and definitely it's going to close right in time. Perfect. And this is the kind of stuff that I want you to focus on while you're doing these, these, we'll call them final edits. We're just creating more space pockets for other things to come through. Think of it like this. If you went dancing with your partner, sure, by the end of the night, you guys might be tangoing, but you'd definitely be stepping on each other's feet every now and again. But after a little bit of practice, then I think you guys would know each other's moves well enough to be more like in sync with each other. And that's kind of the way I like to describe these fades. None of these tails are going to be stepping on anybody's feet or anything like that. Everybody's kind of working more in sync. Great. So let's continue through this. Okay. Let's see, that's looking good. Clean that up there. Okay. I'm digging this one now. Watch this. I can highlight all of these guys at the same time, and we could do a freeze on all 4 at the exact same time. And then I could flatten. Bang. Done. Perfect. So I've got audio in all of these guys now. So let's go ahead and see what's going on. What I want to do is check out these tracks individually. So I'm going to turn them off, right? And I know that I got my drone looking good. I'm going to turn off my bass effects too, and the orchestra. Okay, and put this ARP on. Okay, now check this out. This is exactly kind of what I'm saying here. I'm going to open this up, turn my fades on, pull that back. Yeah, okay, so you could even feel how this one's turning out while the other one's turning in. And then what I'm going to do is literally just copy this over here again. And let's go ahead and create this build here. And then we'll cut them back. And then check this out. When I cut back the time, when the fade's on, it does an automatic fade cut back as well. And then look at this bullshit right here. I don't want that. So, great. Now this is just going to sound a lot tighter. Wow, yeah, I even want to double it down one more time here like this. And watch, I could even kind of pull these up if I want, a little bit like that. Now, that sounds like it's going to be, it sounded cool when I was thinking about it, when we were writing down the idea, when we were creating the patch. But I think I'd rather use this and have a little more space for all these other things, all these other layers that we've put in. So let's check this out. here. We're going to cut that out since I want a dramatic thing. Perfect. Now here's a cool little trick, little pro tip here. Check this out. If I switch this to like that one and done thing, basically what it's doing is it's putting one of these little like fades, but it's going to do it on every single transient. So at 100, it's fully open, right? But watch what happens when I bring it to 0. Okay, so what I could actually do here is pick this up a bit and kind of control that reverb a little bit. In fact, what if I did that on everything? So I'm going to select all, I'm going to put them on this, and I'm going to bring this down to like 73 where it was before. So now all of these. Great. Now it's not sounding so washed out. I think I just want to cut this guy out and use this one again over here. Yeah, it's going to create a lot more room for everything else. And let's bring this guy. Nope. I actually like this at this point. Nice. That actually works really good there. So perfect. So see, at the end of this track, we only ended up using a couple of these slices over and over again. That's totally cool. That's the way the news goes. You know what I mean? Perfect. So let's go ahead down here into this lead, see what's going on here. Yeah, that's just over bleed. So we're gonna go ahead and just cut that there. Put our fades on. Let's stretch this out a bit. And something like, let's see what this sounds like. Maybe even like just kill it, like, you know what I mean? Like, let's see what happens if we do something like this. Yeah, because we get that swoop in, that woof, so that works just fine. So we'll get that out of there, clean that up. I don't know what's here, but we're gonna get rid of it. Okay, and now there's really not much more I could do on this one as far as the fades go. Okay, and let's see what's happening with this ARP. So I'm definitely going to do that same thing on here when I go over here like this and pull it back a bit. This is a really good way to kind of control the reverb a little bit if it's a bit too roomy. Cool, and we'll do a cool little effect here on this guy. Okay, that's looking good. Perfect. Let's go ahead and do our sub as well. We'll freeze that. Flatten that. Perfect, because we don't want any sub kind of going over either. A lot of this stuff, like I said, could seem tedious, but we're doing it in steps, and that's totally fine. I recommend that for people that are new to this. But you know, I tend to do this while everything happens all at once. You know, so you'll get in the habit of doing that, and you'll get used to all of that for sure. Cool. I've already done all my fades on these guys before I brought them in. Now, what's actually pretty cool here is we actually ran into a problem. Okay, so I was going to solve it off screen, but then I thought to myself, hey, this would be a perfect opportunity to show what happens when we freeze and flatten and it doesn't work out. So apparently it must have initialized the patch or something before it went and did its thing. So this isn't really going to help anybody, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to one of the previous versions, right? So this is the freeze, right? So here we go. So then this is the previous version here. So let's go ahead and grab our pulser and pull it right in. Okay, we have our MIDI track and everything, and well, hey, it's all good. At least we have our information now, and I can go back into here and solve that problem. So I think the reason that this initialized is because I may have moved the preset, right? So let's just go ahead and open sound. We'll go to our desktop. We'll go right to our, I know where the presets are. And here we go. I'll grab that guy right there, and here we go. No worries, right? And we'll go right in and freeze and flatten. All good. Killing the game. Perfect. Okay, that's rocking now. Good news. Pulsar, this guy can go. Now we got pretty much everything happening here. Let's go check out our bass effects. Do the exact same thing. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and freeze. And flatten. Okay, and all right, we got this here, which we're gonna actually have some fun with. This guy though, this Digibrom, this could definitely use a bit of tailoring. So let's go ahead and grab that. Put our fades on it. Yeah, you see, this is a little something that happens on my computer. When I freeze and flatten, sometimes, for whatever reason, it won't let me open my fades, and I have to put a new track on. So if that happens to you, don't freak out. Just, I guess that's the workaround. So my fade's on now, and perfect. So that looks good. Okay. And then we'll just cut it like that again. That way they're all the same and nice and even. And I'll just take this guy here. Yeah, we're gonna cut that though, I think. Okay, that looks good to me. And we got this down here. Let's just clean this up a bit. That's fine. And this guy I want to do something cool with. Okay, so I want to actually, let's go ahead and grab a auto pan. Okay, we're gonna turn it all the way up. We're gonna put it out of phase, and see what I'm saying? So I think I'm gonna like turn it on halfway through. Okay. All right, it's pretty cool. Okay, and then what I'm actually going to do now is freeze and flatten that. Okay, so now I got this guy over here doing his thing, and I'm going to copy and paste him over. Okay, very cool. That adds a nice little stutter effect. The next couple of installments, videos, whatever you want to call them, are going to be dealing with really polishing this, mixing it up, putting a little master chain on it. I've got some cool racks, mixing racks that I'm going to give you guys. We're going to take this and bring it to the next level. It's clean, it's faded, it's tight, it's ready to go. We're just going to take it to the next level now. All right. Might as well go ahead and listen to it one more time. You can tune out if you want. But what I'm going to do is listen to it one more time so we can keep hearing how it's improving. Here we go. And then I will check you on the next video.